Hello to today's video. The topic is worse than ever. First of all, it's not such a hot day in Germany today, but it rained somewhat and wow, it's very sticky muggy now and I'm sweating. And that's okay. So, worse than ever. Well, sometimes you have the feeling that things are getting worse and worse and worse. It would be easy to start a list and you would have a lot of things on your list then that show you it getting worse and worse and worse. On the other hand, there are people who are telling you, no, it's getting better and better. There are publication that tells you, no, it's getting better and better. It only seems like it would get worse and worse. And I'm very often insecure about what I should feel. I know this publications and what they tell you, and I will tell about my personal experiences. But on the other hand, sometimes I really feel it getting worse and worse. Or in the end, nothing changes, really. So first, in my youth, every year, really, every year, the same news on TV. Famine in Africa. Every year. Every year, thousands, 10,000s or even more people starved to death in Africa. There was a normality in my youth. This is no longer. There are statistics that show you very clearly that today less people die in wars than 50 years ago, 100 years ago and so on. And there are other points that show you very clearly that the things are getting better. So my family is a normal middle-class family in Germany. In my youth, we had a little car. Later, we had a bigger car, a larger car. In my youth, it was something very special to eat in a restaurant. Later it became more and more normal. Things got better. The Cold War, no longer. But then you have developments like in Hungary and Poland, for example. And of course, United States of America. And I think that's one of the important measures to say it's getting better or it's getting worse. Apart from that, I talk about the world now. So the world can become better and better, but your personal situation can become worse and worse, obviously. For me personally, much will depend on November the 3rd. So if the United States would fail and either this president would become a second term or Biden would win and he would refuse to give up power. And there's a strange situation in the United States of America that it needs 3 months from electing a president and inauguration day. that the president really is in power. 3 months. It's, yeah, sometimes Europeans look at the United States of America and ask, wow, isn't that a little bit complex, and how you deal with such things? Okay, your election system is totally complex and so on. So why not this? So in other countries this go faster. But it is what it is. And this 3 months, I think, will be very crucial. And a lot will depend on what will happen in the 3 months if Joe Biden wins. Why? Because if Joe Biden would win and the president would leave the White House without making trouble, then you could have the feeling, okay, there's a chance now. And obviously the United States of America are very important for the whole world for many reasons. And if this country would fail, this would have a huge impact for the whole world, and would have a huge impact also for my feelings about if everything gets worse and worse and worse, or better and better. But I think it's also interesting that this shows you how fragile everything is, and that you not can take anything for granted. So sometimes in Germany you have this feeling, wow, it's all okay, nothing can happen anymore. So we had our Third Reich, Hitler and so on, but now everything is cool, stable. Really? Really? So for me, you cannot answer this question. Is it getting worse and worse, or better and better? I think everything can happen all the time. And you cannot say or say exactly what will happen in the future. You could write novels, for example. And what I not like, or I have problems with, is fiction, totally fictional novels. Because you could write a novel now, the president would get a second term, everything would become very worse, a fascist dictatorship, and so on. You could write a novel, Joe Biden would win together with Kamala Harris, and wow, they would start with the necessary changes and everything would become fantastic. So in the first novel, because the United States of America would become a fascist dictatorship then, this would impact the world and everything would get worse, maybe a third world war, whatever. In a second novel you could write about, wow, that this would inspire the world to see, no, you can rescue your democracy and it become better and better, and this systemic racism, they would overcome this and it would inspire the world, wow. But the problem is both would be novels. But there will be a reality. There will be a reality of November the 3rd. There will be a reality what happens between the election and Inauguration Day. And the reality is what counts in the end, not nice ideas and novels. And because it's not written down what will happen on November the 3rd. both would be possible. And this shows you, from my side, that you not can say it's getting worse and worse or it's getting better and better. Also not, it's up and down, or you can think about a graphic that goes up and down, but in the end, up and up and up. That would also be possible, yes? Or would be positive, I want to say. No, I think, or I have the feeling that both happens at the same time. It's getting better, it's getting worse. And that's strange. But then I have a problem, because if you think about, okay, not so many people starve to death today than in my youth. That's positive. But looking at the living condition of a lot of people today, this cannot make you happier. At least not if you are a total capitalist and that way. So, okay, they no longer starve to death. They now have so much food that they not starve to death, but not really much. Is this good? It's better, obviously. But is this good? And especially, is this satisfying? And there comes a feeling, or a feeling occurs to me to say, it's worse today. And why it's worse today? Because, go to the Middle Age. In the Middle Age, people starved to death. Because if there was a bad summer, they have not enough, could not produce enough food, and many die in the winter, for example. It was what it was. They had not the means to change this. But today, with globalization, with all the money in this world, with all our technical development and so on, today we could change this. We could change this. And that's disappointing, at least for me, that we would have the possibility to give everybody a good life. But we don't do it. And that's very disappointing. Then you have a situation that I would say in every country, it's a bit problematic to say in every country, but at least in countries like Germany, France, Italy, Great Britain, United States of America, and so on. You have a few families that own more or less everything. You can now say, yeah, that's a historical development. Yeah. But is this satisfying? At least today? Maybe in the Middle Age, but we no longer live in the Middle Age. Today we would have the means for real change. Therefore, I have the feeling there's a basic layer of structure that not changes. It's the same like in the Middle Age. And that's unsatisfying. So, United States of America, say Biden will win. And there would no trouble. So February inauguration, and then he would start together with Kamala Harris, and yeah, what then? What with the Staglers, the Waltons, and so on? Would they be interested in the farmers then? In the hillbillies and the rednecks? So Hillary wasn't really interested in them. Would there be real change? Or a little bit cosmetic, so well, we do a little bit, give them something. Because real change would mean, and that's my problem, would mean that also the Clintons and the Kennedys would have to share. Because also the Clintons and the Kennedys are part of the white upper class in the United States of America. It's not important if you are then a conservative white upper class family in the United States of America, or a democratic upper class white family. You now can say, oh, family clan or so. You can say, yes, but, yeah, but. How, a metaphor for me always is JFK, John F. Kennedy. Wow. Was he a racist? A little bit at least, or? It's like his pregnancy, a little bit pregnant, a little bit racist. And this not gives me much hope then that there will be substantial change in the United States of America. So, is everything getting worse and worse? No. Is everything getting better and better? Not necessarily, and not really. Really? Would it be enough to say, okay, if the United States not fails totally, if not the worst disaster will happen, then it's okay? Or would you say, no, that would be not enough? Again, we would have today possibilities, means, all the technology for real change. And we not do it. So what I fear, what I've written about, or what in my mind is, that I fear that later, that in 1, 2, maybe 3 generations from now, they will look back at us and point with their fingers at us and say they would have the possibility to change things. And they not did it. So maybe at a middle age they not knew it better. They had not the possibilities to do things. But I fear they will point with their fingers at us and say they had the possibilities to do it, to change the things, and they not did it. And when I look behind the camera, I see a mirror. Only to say this. And I see in this mirror me, and apart from that I see me and the screen for the camera. Yeah. So doing this is also talking with myself. First I see me 2 times when I do this. So 3 opportunities. Total disaster. Trump gets the 2nd term. The United States fails finally. Total disaster. Biden wins. Nothing really changes. That would mean, by the way, not necessarily that it gets worse. What comes in my mind is now I look daily statistic, and it's about the United States of America, because they have 50 states. Interesting, and it's from the New York Times, and the different states with a graphic, and then they divide it in 3 parts. So states who are getting worse, the situation corner, states more or less the same, and states decreasing. And the moment you have not that much states with increasing numbers. You have some states with declining numbers. You have lots of states with more or less the same. That sounds in a moment not that bad, but more or less the same on a very high level. So in the end, it's a very devastating situation, even that some better, some worse, and most the same. Sounds not that bad, but in the end the situation is very bad. And that's what I feel a little about the world today. No, it's not getting totally worse. It's not getting towards paradise. It's more or less the same. So, but on a worse level, I have the feeling. At least on a level that's worse than it would have to be. Apart from that we not react to climate change and things like that. And obviously we are not capable to solve at least some problems. Like in the Middle East or so. We are not capable to do this. I think that's very disappointing. And so, no, I would not say that everything gets worse. At least if this president gets not a 2nd term after November 3rd. If this president gets a 2nd term, then I fear bad things will happen. If he refuses to step back, also bad things can happen. But even if Joe Biden becomes president and there are some changes, I think that's disappointing because we could do more. And I have the feeling that one of the basic problems we have is that some families are too powerful. I have said it that I use, or for me, the United States of America interesting because they show it very openly, in a brutal way. In Germany, everything is covered up. We have the situation also in Germany. There's some families. But what's so brutal in America is that everybody knows that a lot of politicians are bored. They get millions from some families and organizations and so on for their campaigns. They need millions and they get them. Yeah. And yeah, if you're elected, then sure, the family will come and ask you, oh, we give you millions for your election. Millions. I think that's better in Germany because yeah, it's not so directly possible than in the United States of America. Maybe it's only more covered up. Nevertheless, the problem is that you have some families, some clans with too much power. And the problem also is they are all white European based in the United States of America. Can you change this? I at least have my doubts that Joe Biden will be able to change this. And also together with Kamala Harris, I have my doubts they will change this, and they are able to change this because, again, this would mean also the Clintons, also the Kennedys, and so on, also they would have to change substantially, not only a little bit. And I fear that this will not happen. So let's hope that we will have on November the 3rd a reason to cheer. Let's hope that 3 months from election day to inauguration day will not become that disastrous as I describe it at the moment, or tend to describe it in one of my novels. But I fear that even if all these worst things not will happen, that you will not have in the next years a situation that got worse and worse with the United States of America that turned into a dictatorship. That's not enough to say, no, it's not getting worse and worse. In a way it comes better and better. But substantially there's no real change. And I have the feeling that we today, well, I talk always longer than I thought, and I thought this should become a short video today, but because I use a camera, not a video camera or so for the camera I can also make videos, and this is restricted to half an hour, and I've not realized that. I talk for half an hour now. so it stopped. So I will continue and for the end. So I said that, yeah, maybe it's not getting worse and worse next years. Maybe in a way even better and better, so a little bit better and better. But I fear that will be not enough, like with climate change. Yes, you can change a little bit, you can change a little bit, you can change a little bit, but this will be not enough, I fear. Okay, I'm 55, I will die, more or less soon. But future generations, yeah, they will suffer that. And that's the disappointing feeling, that it's getting better in a way, but not fast enough, not good enough, and that in the end this will lead into a disaster. Even that it's getting better, it will lead into a disaster, because it's not fast enough and the changes are not substantial enough. So also a development who becomes better and better can finally lead into a disaster by climate change. You can reduce the emissions, you can reduce them, but in the end finally it's a disaster, because you reduce not enough. You can say, hey, it's getting... Yes, today it's too hot or too sticky. I've not saw also that my accu runs more empty, so try to finish this video. And I will do it like a ride, spontaneously, and what's written is written. Sometimes I change a little bit, so I changed in writing Biden's son. At the moment I wrote this, it was very spontaneously. I not realized that it was his late son Beau, and therefore I changed his son Biden to his late son Beau. But apart from this, I not changed things, and I'm not interested to start a video again. I said what I want to say, and therefore second try or third try to finish up this video. So we were climate change, that things can become better, but in the end the improvement is not good enough, and then it will lead into a disaster. So improvement, that things getting better and better, not means that at the end you will have paradise. It can mean at the end you will have a disaster, catastrophe. And that you should keep in mind, that's what I meant with, and I'm disappointed that we have the means and so on, and we not are able to substantial changes. And that's again the United States of America. Without any doubts, the United States of America would need some substantial changes. And it will be very interesting for me to see whether they are able to or not. Oh, what will happen at November 3rd? So worse than ever? Is the world today worse than ever? I have the feeling that in a way the world was worse from the beginning on. from the beginning of the humans on. And it's worth also today. And yes, I've written a utopia about a society where things have changed dramatically. The war against those things. And I write more or less about a world where, again, you have no wars again, but that's this time because they killed all the men. Maybe really. So sometimes I really ask myself if this not would be a possibility to change this world substantially. To kill all men. Yeah. Okay. I will finish this video now. And the final point, I'm disappointed. I'm totally disappointed that we not see that in some ways nothing changes, but even if it not will lead into a catastrophe as a second term of this president, maybe fascist dictatorship in the United States of America, even if this not will happen, even if Joe Biden will become president, and even there will be progress done, that not means that things come better. This also can lead into a disaster, and I fear will lead into a disaster if there are no substantial changes. Climate change, as an example. Or these nice graphics on the New York Times where more or less the same. If 1,000+ people die every day, then it's not getting worse. But maybe it is worse. Okay, that's for today. And let's see. Not that long, and it will be November the 3rd. Thank you for listening.